Antibiotics used to solve every problem. Now one of the biggest problems the world has is the germ has gotten so brilliant that the antibiotic can't keep up with it. And they're constantly trying to come up with a new. People go to a hospital and they go for a heart operation. That's no problem, but they end up dying from problems. You know the problems I'm talking about. There's a whole genius to it. We're fighting, not only is it hidden, but it's very smart, okay? It's invisible, and it's hidden, but it's very smart.
Let us understand, North Vietnam cannot defeat or humiliate the United States. Only Americans can do that.
Like, I'm just going to try to sprint through so we can stay below 3 hours.
Yeah, we should.
All right, are you ready?
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hello, hello, hello. No, we're going to try a different kind of greeting. Howdy, y'all. Welcome to episode 21 of The Moral Minority. Episode, again, untitled because we haven't said anything yet. I am, as always, I'm your not-so-humble correspondent, Marcel, and this is my alleged co-host, Dan. Say hi, Dan.
Hee-haw, partner.
That's right. So, what are we going to talk about today, Dan? Pop quiz.
The thing.
That's right, the thing. All men are created. Yeah, I feel like Joe Biden could probably remember the topics a little better, considering how often I read them to you. So we're doing, of course, Democrats, Trump, Libertarians, media, clown world. And our first topic for the Democrats, let's talk about Hunter Biden, since now nobody's talking about him, but this time for like a good reason. Before they weren't talking.
First boy of the U.S.?
Yeah, the first boy of the U.S. Actually, no, I have seen some people talking about Hunter Biden, like he's getting like, he's not becoming, I don't want to say it's like a sex symbol, but I've seen people on Twitter, like, he's created a sort of, Republicans did the thing again. They created a sort of mystique around Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden has become sort of the Onion Joe Biden. If you read Onion articles about Joe Biden where he's like this, this biker bad boy or whatever, it's like, hey, Hunter Biden just does cocaine and bangs hookers and this and that. And Republicans like, see, do you want, a president's son who's like this bad boy biker who travels around the world, having parties and wild sex and drugs? Like,
yeah.
As it turns out, the answer was yes. Actually, that sounds pretty cool.
Everyone's just hearing, bad to the bone.
Yeah, exactly.
Hunter Biden comes on stage, bow.
Yes. So that story.
Brought him on stage.
Wait.
The night of the win, he was on stage.
Oh, yeah, because
rubbing it in at this point.
Yes, it was a total stupid thing.
Degenerate. Get the crack pipe out of your mouth. We fucked him over again. No consequences! Yay!
I'm very happy that we're both on record in the last episode saying that we don't care about Hunter Biden and that whole story, because now I can safely say to Republicans, see, don't you think it was stupid to focus on the Hunter Biden story, right? There was something to be done with the fact that Twitter was censoring the story, and indeed that's what we actually talked about. That was the real story. But the fact that, this politician's unqualified son was getting a position that is like, nobody in Washington is qualified for anything. That's why they're in Washington.
Well, I mean, it's a little more than that.
Yes.
There appeared to be good evidence that he was working as a cutout to basically launder money to his father from Chinese companies.
Like, I don't give a fuck.
But at the same time, there's a sense, do I really care in the sense that, do I really think that he's doing stuff that they're not all doing? No, they're all doing it. So, I mean, it's not like news, but at the same time, it is news in the sense that if we're still pretending that this is all legit, you have to go, well, you're not supposed to do that.
I'm going to hypocritically care about my own hypocrisy more than I care about the Democrats' hypocrisy, which I don't care about.
You sure mention it a lot, though.
I know. I can't help it. It was just dumb. I thought I had more to say, but I guess I just really want to wag the finger at the RNC. Hopefully they're listening to this podcast and say, don't fucking spend your time reporting on these dumbass stories of, we've proven it. We've proven that this guy's unqualified. Okay. other election news, we're talking about this election like we don't know what the outcome is. I mean, we don't know what the outcome is, but we're talking about this election like it's, November 3rd, even though we're recording 2 weeks later, just because, there's a certain order to things and the way I put things on the rotation.
I kind of wanted to wait until we knew for sure what the outcome was.
Before we talked about the election at all.
Yeah, but at a certain point, you just have to pull the trigger on it.
Because talk about the election until January. That's the new plan, folks. There was a report on The Week it's an Indian newspaper called The Week, that Joe Biden was using Indian bots or paying Indian people to say pro-Biden stuff on Facebook. Oh no, on Twitter. Again, this also proves to be, just wanted to say that. Thought that was funny. This really shows that India's become a superpower, right? Because, Trump was using Russian bots, but now we're using Indian bots. And it's 2020, so boom. India superpower 2020.
Well,
they're putting their finger on it.
I asked a friend of mine about this. A friend of mine who is a Democrat who predicted that Trump would win. And then when he didn't win, or when he seemed to be winning and then it suddenly switched, he didn't at all think, oh, that's odd, I was so wrong. He just thought, oh, that's lucky. I guess I was very wrong. The last time, 4 years ago, he was very wrong. It took him 4 years to get over it, but this time he got over it like that.
I'll give it to him. At least he was willing beforehand to entertain the possibility that Trump was like, as the election approaches, like, hey, is Trump going to win? And he thinks about it, it's like, yeah, probably. And then he does what's going
on. People out there who think that the interesting thing that happened is that Joe Biden has a very interesting. He has the silent majority, it turned out, because these people, they don't put bumper stickers on their car. They don't go to rallies, They don't tell anyone they're voting for Joe Biden. They don't go out and canvass or anything for him. They don't do anything. But when it's time to vote, they rise up out of their graves and they vote.
I was going to say, yeah, Joe Biden has a silent majority in the sense that dead men tell no tales.
Yes. At the end of Reservoir Dogs, when nice guy Eddie comes back in and he sees Mr. Orange killed Mr. Blonde, and Mr. Blonde's his good friend, so he knows Mr. Blonde is not the cop. And Orange tries to explain that, he comes up with some whole concoction
what gets
story.
me, Dan? I just want to stop you right now. What gets me is that you remember these guys by their color code names when I simply know them as that guy from Lie to Me and so on.
So Tim Roth says that he didn't kill Michael Madsen. He comes up with a whole obvious lie to Nice Guy Eddie, and Nice Guy Eddie just takes it all in, and then he looks at him and he just goes, okay, so that's your story, right?
That's your story.
It's like, when I heard I just looked at Joe Biden has 79 million votes. I just thought, so that's your story. That's
what we're going with. No, come on. Joe Biden underperformed Hillary Clinton in like Democratic strongholds like New York, but overperformed Hillary Clinton.
He underperformed her in every single metro area, save 4, which turned out to be the exact four that he needed to flip these states. And I will say, is there better proof that God was on his side? You mentioned something, the obviously point that only we would talk about here, which is, you're not going to have any luck explaining this to anyone, but can't you admit that if we're going to believe this all happened the way they said it happened, can't you admit this is a bad system when at a certain point, when the elections are this close, you're not even really taking a vote of what does the country think, or what do these even what do these different states think? Because if all the Trump supporters in California moved to Nevada, then California would still be a blue state and Nevada would be a red state. If every single Trump supporter in, some blue state moved to some, to one city in Pennsylvania, then Donald Trump becomes the president just because they live there instead of in Delaware or instead of in the 5 surrounding states that they all live. At a certain point, it's not. So the idea of the election is, we have the majority decide, or in a democratic republic with the whatever, we have the majority of the states decide.
My God. I just want to as I look this shit up right now, when you go to the 2020 United States presidential election Wikipedia page, under controversies, it's polling accuracy, false claims of fraud, lawsuits, Trump's refusal to concede. Like, it just says false claims of fraud.
That's the official term, false claims. At a certain point, it's like you could totally game this system just by having people move around. Like, when the elections are this close, it's not even a vote. It's just a census of where do people live.
I mean, yeah, that's what an election is.
What are you saying? There's something suspicious about that? Come on. This guy was electric. He's out there, he's given his speech that he gave 100 times. everybody just loves this guy. He's the most beloved politician in history.
I mean, no, people weren't voting for Joe Biden. They were voting for Jim Carrey, right? SNL was doing that thing again where it's like how they made Gerald Ford an incompetent boob, and then somehow that became Gerald Ford. And most people's impersonation, I didn't understand it at first because I don't watch SNL, but I now understand that most people's impersonation of Donald Trump is really an impersonation of the SNL impersonator of Donald Trump.
Alec Baldwin?
Yeah. When they do the
impression.
Yeah, because they all do the lip thing, and they all like do this really high pitched thing. It's like, oh, that's Alec Baldwin. So it's like a double mirror.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So what do you think the odds are that this is legit?
Zero. I mean,
right? But what do you think the odds are that there is that it becomes the official, it becomes out there that this was not legit?
Yeah. No, it is beyond doubt that Joe Biden cheated. The only thing I doubt is, like, did he need to? Sometimes it's like Dick Dastardly in Wacky Races, where he's on track to win anyway, but then he stops for a little while to plant dynamite on the bridge just to make sure. But then him doing that makes it like that he loses. It's possible the Democrats were going to win anyway.
Like Nixon in 1972.
Something like
breaking into the Watergate, allegedly to help his reelection when he got the biggest landslide ever.
Right.
But that's another hobby horse of mine. That's a fake story, but
I just want to temporarily digress to defend Richard Nixon again. Do you ever think about how, like, nobody can even tell you what Richard Nixon did wrong?
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Nobody can tell you because they don't know. That entire thing is a fucking psyop.
Yeah. It's like every time it's like my own, I'll say a relative of mine, right? When one of my relatives who was like mildly conservative, actually I guess reasonably conservative, said the Democrats were corrupt, and then this other relative said, okay, what would you say is the biggest corruption scandal of all time? And then someone said Watergate, and then the person said, I see, and who did that? A Republican. And I was like, I got a question. Can either of you even tell me right now what Watergate was? Like, what exactly?
It was a corruption scandal?
Yeah, well, what was it? Tell me.
Can I just mention
Keep going.
This to show you now with this whole thing, every piece of evidence that I would use to be like to prove my point, someone could twist and say, "Oh, this just proves how guilty he was." But that famous thing that Nixon said was what was his famous line about Watergate?
I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I got. Which has nothing to do with what the charge was, right?
Right.
The charge was not that he stole any money or anything like that, which goes to show that even he, I don't think at the time, understood what they were accusing him of. Because he was like, oh, they're saying I did some sort of crookery. Well, I didn't steal anything. I don't know what you're talking about. And only later did he realize, oh, shit, I was set up in this fake break-in wiretapping thing, which we do all the time, which
what really gets
did, going all the way back to the 30s, presidents did this. So even if I had done that, that wouldn't get me in trouble. I don't understand what's happening.
Do you know what's the closest direct modern analog to what Watergate actually was?
Tell me.
It was Barack Obama having the DOJ wiretap Trump Tower. It was literally exactly the same. Actually, it was worse because we know that Barack Obama actually ordered it, right? It's still in dispute whether or not Richard Nixon actually ordered the wiretap. It's not in dispute that he covered it up after the fact. At least I don't think of it in dispute. Maybe you do, but I just simply, it's one of those things that I took as given, but I'm ready at a moment's notice to drop that assumption. With Obama wiretapping Trump during the campaign, which is exactly what Nixon was accused of, we know that Obama told the DOJ to do that. That's just analog to Watergate.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's made up.
Yeah, it's just made up, and everybody, which shows
that's what half of the people think. They just go, they'll just hear you say that, and they'll go, "Oh my god, this guy just fucking made that up off the top of his head."
Right? They don't give a fuck, and they're hypocrites. And now that I know that they're hypocrites, we're just gonna, we've won. I've done it.
But this is the thing. So this is what I was talking to my friend about. One of my friends keeps messaging me things about how. Because we can't talk about this in public, but he'll Facebook message me it. And he keeps messaging me these stories, about all this smoke around the election that what he would think leads to fire. And he keeps saying basically like, Dan, what do you think about this? Do you think this is all? Because he's not a political guy, but in the back of his mind, he's like, this does not look fucking right to me. And he's afraid to say that because you can't say it, but So yeah, and he asked me basically like, what do you think the odds are that this gets like flipped back? And I was like, what do I think the odds are that this was faked